Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live, Life in Focus. Last week it messed up a little bit, but we're back this week and we're looking forward to spending some time with you tonight, and hopefully you can enjoy our fellowship because I know I will enjoy yours. If you have a chance, go to the chat and send us something about how you feel about our podcast. We would love to hear from you. So, what is your... Last week I talked about gratitude, and I talked about that a lot of us think we don't have anything to offer in certain situations, such as Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas tree times, but I want you to know that you have a lot to offer. Your life is a wonderful thing. God created you a living soul with greatness in you, with gifts in you, with talents in you. And the greatest thing you can bring to any situation, any party, any dinner, any family gathering is gratitude. I'm sorry the podcast didn't work last week, but we talked about gratitude. Being thankful. All of you survived all the issues that come your way last year. A lot of you had many tremendous things happen to you that were not good. Some of you are sick. Some of you had COVID. Some of you lost loved ones because of COVID and different things that happened in your family and in your friends' lives. But we have much to be thankful for because those of us that remain survived whatever came our way, no matter how difficult it was. We survived 100%. And God helped us survive those things so we can minister to others. Because, as you know, in AA and other entities like AA, we share with each other our hopes, dreams, and experiences, hopefully to help someone else. And so bring gratitude, bring your hopes, bring your dreams into the situation. So let's start out tonight by talking a little bit about life in general. In 1966, on April the 1st, 1966, I raised my hand and accepted the oath and joined the great army of the United States of America and went to the glorious land of Fort Polk in Louisiana on April the 1st, 1966. I spent some time in the reception center for 3 weeks, in fact, and then we went to basic training and started our training. One of the things that we did during this training is they set us on these bleachers, and on each side of this long open strip were trees and forest and brush and all those things. And our job was to find the people that were hiding in those trees, in the brush, in the bushes. It was called camouflage training. And I was so deficient in that area of focus and being able to pick out anything, I never found anybody. Because no matter how bad they might have hidden, I still could not find them. Now the enemy is the same way in our lives. As we go through life, he camouflages himself as different things. He may camouflage himself as a tree, as a beautiful woman, just to be, or a wonderful looking man, or somebody that attracts you. He might camouflage himself as drugs, as false friends, as people that say they love you, gang people that try to pull you into their gangs. He camouflages himself in many ways to entrap you when you are unexpected and cannot see what he is doing and his real deal. Now they did that to us and tried to help us search out in those woods and in that area peoples. So if we were sent to war, we would be able and have the ability to focus and find the enemy before the enemy destroyed us. Now that's what God wants to do. He wants to give you vision. He wants to give you focus. He wants to give you ability to find the enemy so that you are aware of his tactics and understand what he is trying to do when he's camouflaging himself as something wonderful when actually he is a destroyer and is out to destroy you. It said the enemy came but to kill, steal, and destroy. Jesus came to heal, save, love, and be our friend and work with us. So the enemy camouflages himself as he did with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. He camouflaged himself as a wonderful, beautiful animal. Back then it was a snake, and he could climb trees and walk and all those kind of things according to history and according to what people say. So he's a beautiful creature, and he could talk. And he convinced Eve to do the things that would bring harm and pain into her and Adam's life. That's what the enemy is. The enemy wants you to destroy yourself. The enemy has no power to kill you. But the enemy has power to convince you to destroy yourself, either quickly or slowly. And God wants to save you. You have such talents. You have so much to live for. We have made it today 11 months of this year. You and I together. We have made it 11 months. Some of the people did not make it. We made it 11 months. We have 1 month to go in this year. So let's make this 1 month that we have left count. Let's be full of gratitude, full of thankfulness, and those things in our lives so that we can be a beacon to somebody else that is lost in the darkness. So that if we can start to accomplish that and understand that what is happening to us is a deceitful lie, that God has created us and breathed into us, he said, and we became a living soul. Now you can put a man in the air and he can still be dead, but you put the air in the man and he becomes alive. You can put a man or a person, not just a man, a lady, a person, individual in a library, and there's tremendous amounts of knowledge and entrepreneurship and ways to be successful and motivational books and all those things in that library. And people, individuals, can sit in that library and be ignorant and stupid because knowledge is all around them and they will not progress it at all. But you start reading those books and you start putting those books inside of you, then the stupidity and the ignorance and all that goes away, and you begin to learn that you can succeed. You can be an overcomer. God said we were overcomers by his Son and the word of our testimony, our speech. So your speech matters. What you say matters. If you go around saying I'm sick, I'm an addict all the time, you go around saying that I can't make it, I'm not smart, I'm ignorant, I cannot be a success, I want you to know that that's not true. It's not true at all. You can be a success. Steve Harvey, if you know him, he started out with $50, lived in his car for 3 years, worked very hard, got up every day, worked and he wanted to be a comic, a stand-up comedian, and he'd never even been to a comedy club in his life, and he was writing jokes for this other guy, and this lady began to talk to him and said, well, why don't you go to a comedy club? You're writing all the jokes. So he went to this comedy club, and she took him because didn't have hardly any money. She took him to the comedy club, and as they went in, she said, why don't you sign up to be one of the comics here? So what he did, he signed up for the next week to come and do some stand-up comedy. Well, as he was sitting there, the person that was the last one to stand up and be the comic did not show up. So they said, well, the next week, the first person on the list is a person named Steve Harvey. And he thought I was talking about somebody else. But that lady that brought him said, Steve, that's you. Go up there. And he said, I had no clue. I didn't know what to say, but I remembered that I had written some jokes that I hadn't given to this other comic. So he said, I got up there and started doing those jokes, and everybody started laughing, and everybody thought everything I said was funny, and at the end, they brought everybody out on stage, and they had a clap-off, and the person that got the loudest applause got $50. Who won? Steve Harvey. Where do you think Steve Harvey is today? He's one of the most wonderful comics there is. He is a great motivational speaker. He is a great man of God. He makes multi-millions a year. So you can be a success. Living in his car. No money. Nothing. He goes to a comedy club for the first time in his life. He gets up on stage and wins. Wins $50. That was like $1 million to him to do that. So, what can you do? What do you want to do? Now, Steve Harvey, before he got homeless, he had a job. He made so much a week. He had a place to live. But he decided he wanted to be a comic, so he just quit his job. I don't advise that. But that's what he did. And he worked at it. If you go online and listen to his story. It's a great motivational story. You can be a success in whatever your talent is and whatever you want to do. Do you want to be an artist? Do you want to be a musician? Do you want to be a marathon runner? Do you want to be, a CEO of a company? Do you want to be an electrician? Do you want to be a plumber? Do you want to be a preacher? Do you want to be whatever that you might want to be? What is it? Doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter what other people tell you. What matters is what you want to do and want to be. But it's not easy. So look at the photo on your screen. There's a guy there going to climb the mountain. A lot of us, we are standing in the valley looking at the mountain. And what we see and what we feel and what we're experiencing is being in the valley and looking at the mountaintop, way up there. But what we're not doing is we're looking at the mountaintop, and we want to be on the mountaintop right now. But we're in the valley. So how do we get to the mountaintop? I want you to look at the valley where you're at. Maybe it's not a good place. I want you to look at the mountaintop where you want to be. I want you to imagine whatever you want to be. I want you to imagine being that. God said He gives us great and precious promises that we might be partakers of the divine nature and escape the corruption or destruction or the bad things that can happen to us because of evil desires, because of not pursuing what our dream is. I want you to imagine that you are what you want to be. That's what Steve Harvey did. He imagined every day that he was a successful comedian. Every day he imagined that. So I want you to imagine that. No matter how bad your circumstances are right now. Maybe you're homeless. Maybe you're hungry. Maybe you're sick. Maybe people have been mean to you, hurt you. But what I want you to do, I want you to imagine that you are on the mountaintop. I want you to imagine that. No matter if things are really bad and things may not improve, but I want you to imagine every day, because God said that we can be what we imagine. He said the imaginations of men's hearts, this is what God said, are evil continually. But they don't have to be. The imagination of your heart doesn't have to be evil continually. It doesn't have to be dwelling on sickness. It doesn't have to be dwelling on I'm bad luck, I've been bad luck, I can't succeed, everything I try has went to you know what. But I want you to know that you can imagine not evil things, but great things. But I want you to see, I want you to lower your eyes a little bit from the mountaintop. And I want you to see the mountain. Because getting to the mountaintop requires us to climb the mountain. Now God said that if you can believe or imagine, same thing. If you can believe or imagine, when we talk about having faith and all that, and spiritual things and church people talking about all that, let's not call it faith, let's call it imagination. I want you to imagine what you want to be, what you want. I want you to imagine. You say, well, I'll never amount to anything. Yes, you will. Imagine that you are standing on the stage in a comic club for the first time and are a success. Or bomb out. Either one. But go back. Imagine I can do this. God said if we can imagine and not let our imagination get off track, if we can imagine what we want and stay positive and dwell on that imagination, that vision, that dream that we have. He said if we can imagine and not let our imagination take us into things that will not come to pass, but also I want you to stay positive on your imagination. He said we could say to this mountain, be thou removed and cast into the sea, and it would happen. It would go away. What I want you to imagine is you're here in the valley. There's the mountaintop. What I want you to imagine is that even though it's a process and it's going to take some effort to get to the mountaintop, I want you to imagine that mountain melting beneath your feet and it becoming like an escalator from where you're at to where you want to be. And that mountain, the process will happen for you and you will make it through that process. And that mountain will go away and you will end up on the mountain top. That's the way mountains go away. As we step out and imagine that we're on the top. We're at the mountain peak. We are successful in whatever we desired and started out to do. The mountain will go away. If you continually imagine that you're on the mountaintop. Okay? So I want you to do that. I want you to understand that the children of Israel, they sent some spies in the land. God promised the land to them. And these spies come back and said God was right. It is a land that is flowing with milk and honey, in other words, sweetness. It is a land of sweetness. But they said, and they brought back some grapes from that land, that it took 2 men to carry 1 bunch of grapes. Now, I can handle a bunch of grapes in 2 fingers that we have in our country. But it was such a fertile land, such a land of greatness and goodness, that it took 2 men to carry 1 bunch of grapes. But, here's the but. Always a but in there. The but is that they said, we're grasshoppers in our own sight. They saw themselves as little bitty grasshoppers beside the big people, because they said there's giants, great big old people living in that land. So they saw themselves as grasshoppers. They said, we can't do it. It's everything we want, but we can't do it. So what do you want? What do you want? I want you to know that you are not a grasshopper. Do you know that in America, when we fought against England, England had one of the greatest armies in the world. A bunch of farmers, okay? Shopkeepers, horseshoeing people, fought the greatest army in the world and won. And won. How come? Because they had passion and imagination. They got cold, they got hungry, their feet froze, but they won. You may get tired, cold, and hungry. You may think you're fighting against the most elite force in the world, the enemy of your soul. But let me tell you, we can win. More than that, you can win. Don't give up. Don't say, I'm going to end this. I want you to get up in the morning earlier than normal. Don't hit snooze on the alarm, but get up and get out and start the process. You're standing in the valley, there's a mountaintop. Start the process of imagination and belief, and watch the mountain melt away one step at a time. God bless you. It's time to go again. Love you very much. I'll see you next week at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night. God bless you.